Tonight on the DNVR Postgame Show, what to make of a nightmare season and who showed us what we needed to see today. That and much more now. Let's go.
Man, final post-game show of the year. Bittersweet is the only word I can think of right now. We are presented by Game Time. Download the app, use the promo code BUFFS to get $20 off your first purchase. Scotty Deep Pockets will join us here very shortly. RK, your first thoughts on the final game of the year?
Yeah, hard-fought win over Washington to win the Kreischer Holiday Classic. Really proud of this basketball team. Bang got Dak, looked amazing. No.
Football.
Oh, football. Sorry. Look, I've got a few things. One, this team was absolutely plagued by an inability to win football games.
Yep.
They just didn't have that it factor to get them over the line late in games. And here's the part that people don't want to hear, but is true. They could have won a bunch more football games.
Absolutely.
And as losses begin to pile up, I get it. It's just like, we suck. This is terrible. Everything's bad. This sucks. And it does. And I'm not trying to say that it didn't. But this football team wasn't as far off as it feels. And it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
At this point. Because right now they're a 3-9 football team. Worst record of the Coach Prime era. But to me, the biggest problem was an allergy to winning football games. And that, to me, is something that has to be overcome in the next phase of this. You have to learn how to win. Learning to win is a skill that this team never developed. And the reason I bring that up today is because that's what happened in this one.
Yep.
You're right there. The tie football game at halftime. You've got multiple opportunities to go and capitalize. It's not as if Kansas State came out and just took over the game in the second half. They just did the things that you need to do. I mean, you go back to so many different football games, like the TCU one stands out to me right now. And I think my big takeaway after that was just like the little things. They're missing the little things.
Yep.
And that's why they lost that one. They lost BYU. They lost Georgia Tech. Arizona State is a game that you had a chance to take the lead in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
You got blown out in the end. But that's the most frustrating part of this team to me, is their inability to take it to another level when the game called for it. This game called for that. Mm-hmm. Who's here? Who's going to do it? Who's going to step up? Who's going to make plays? And the worst part about it is I can't even say Kansas State did that.
No.
They just kind of waited for Colorado to fall apart, which they've done in almost every game this year, other than the ones where they were never in it, to fall apart in the first place. And so that was frustrating in today. But my second takeaway, sorry to talk for so long here, is that big changes are very obviously needed, but I can tell you that big changes are coming. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling, now this would go against what we've been accustomed to in the Coach Prime era, so I don't want to guarantee it, but I have a feeling based on the information that I have that this is going to move pretty quickly.
All right.
We're not going to have a multiple month coordinator search. We're not going to have empty coaching spots on the coaching roster for months on end. I think that this thing's going to come together pretty quick. And I don't know if we're all going to be happy. Like, I can't sit here and say everyone's going to love the hires because I don't know who they are. No one knows who they are yet. Mm-hmm. But they've got a real chance to put together a coaching staff that I think can get this core to the next level.
Yep. On that, I mean, there's no time to wait. There's no time to, wait for everyone's season to end, wait for the NFL season to end, then try and find the best targets for whatever positions you're hiring for. There's just zero time for that, especially with the new calendar. Portal opens in about a year. You have signing day next week. Get this thing figured out, man. Because you need to stabilize the ship. You need to do that ASAP so that you can get to re-recruiting your roster, finally recruiting the portal, and then just officially turning the page and on to next year. What you said about winning is a thing you do every day. It's not a thing you do 12 days out of the Saturdays in the fall, This is something that's going to go and has to permeate through the offseason, has to permeate through spring football, summer workouts, all that stuff, fall camp again. You need to really just kind of dig deep as a program, as coaches, as players. Really, do you want to be here? Do you want to be a part of this program? Do you want to be a part of the turnaround? And what can you do differently that you didn't do this year? I mean, it's got to be soul searching from Coach Prime, from the coaches who stay, from Julian, from all the players who decide to come back, and the players who want to join this roster. You're kind of at a turning point here in terms of the culture of your program, what you tolerate and what you accept. Because this was just not good enough. And clearly the fans and everyone are upset. I mean, we're not happy either. And you just can't tolerate, 3-9 and not how you looked in these games. Like you said, like this one was not even as bad as some of the others. Like I was joking when we were getting off the watch long. We should power rank how bad these games were all year because this one's probably a top 3, like not even that bad if you exclude the wins, obviously. But there's a lot of change that needs to happen, and yes, it needs to happen quickly as well. So it's good to hear.
Here's the other hard conversation that I haven't figured out how to phrase until today. We left the escalator this season. Mm-hmm. The message of the first season was don't break a sweat on an escalator. We're escalating, and we were. You go from 4-8 to 9-3. We could see it and feel it that the tide was starting to turn during the 4-8 season. And then what happened? 9-3, one stinker away from making to the Big 12 championship game. This year we left it. We have to find a new escalator. Yeah. Because we went the opposite way this year to the point where we're on a lower level than where we were in 2023. Thankfully, not where we were in 2022, not even close. Mm-hmm. And I hope people remember that. Yeah. We're several levels above that, at least 2 if you only count wins. But from a pure optics standpoint, you're not nearly that low. But you did drop below, and 3-9 is the worst season of the Coach Prime era, and this one was worse in every way than that first year, I thought. So now you have to start an entirely new journey. You have to find the right offensive coordinator. You got to find a new running backs coach, maybe even more on the offensive side of the ball. You're definitely making some replacements on the defensive side of the ball. And welcome to the Julian Lewis escalator. You have to do everything you can to bring him back, which I'm very confident that they will. Not just blind optimism there. I'm confident that they will be able to retain Julian Lewis. You have to do everything you can to build around Julian Lewis and understand that this is the start of a new journey. What I think we missed, and when I say we, I mean you and me, and Scotty and Neely, and also the program, was that this was going to be a transition year. And I think we saw it a lot with the Broncos, where it was like, there's no such thing as a rebuild. We're just going to keep trying to figure it out with what we have. And you just spin your wheels. Yep. This was a wheel spinning season at best. Yep. And you came out of it with some positives, for sure. You have a lot of pieces that you can build around. But I think that moving forward, you have to acknowledge as a program that you went all the way back to square one. And you have to build this carefully and mindfully in that way. There's no magic fix to just go back and start competing at the highest level again. Do we all hope that they nail every move they make in the portal? Yes. But I think that the moves that are made have to be done in kind of with a 3-year window in mind. 2 to 3 year window of, hey, we think we have a great quarterback, and I would say we do. We're building around him, who, by the way, he's going to be a redshirt freshman next year.
Right.
So next year is not the year. Again, do we think that this team and are the expectations going to be for them to make a bowl game and maybe better? Absolutely, depending on what moves they make and what players they acquire. But you have to accept that you went all the way back to square one, and you're now looking at a 2 to 3 year window to get back to where you need to go.
Sure. I mean, look, this is your, excluding 2022, of course, this is Colorado's worst season since 2014. Last year was their best year since 2016. Let's not forget that this is a program that's basically being rebuilt too, though. You know, from 2022's, that was your launch point, right? And so last year was like the end of just a wave of players. And this is just what happens in college football. And yeah, you have this new wave coming in, and this should be the focus. But as long as you keep these guys, you're going to keep on getting better too. Like Julian Lewis is just going to keep getting better. Omarion Miller, despite the quarterback issues, offensive coordinator issues, he had 8 touchdowns and over 800 yards this year. You've got pieces still in that receiving core besides him as well. You got pieces on the offensive line. We'll get to this list of guys, that we talked about today, but there's some pieces on defense. We agree. I think everyone agrees that needs the most work when you look at this offseason, but you have a lot to build upon. You have a quarterback. I mean, if you don't have a quarterback, it's almost impossible to start picking up the pieces and getting back to where you want to get. But you have a quarterback. Like, there's going to be players who are going to want to come and play with Julian, I think. And I'm agreeing with you. Like, I think Julian's totally back next year. Like, you don't have to worry about that at all. So
you have to worry about it in the sense that you got to make sure that he knows he's your priority.
Yes, of course.
But from the conversations that I've had, it's not a situation where it's like he's on the verge of heading out and you got to beg him to stay.
Yes, for sure.
He wants to be here. You got to make sure that you get some shit right. You can, I guess the point I would say is like when there's a game and you're like, it's theirs to lose, it's yours to lose. Mm-hmm. The only way you lose Julian Lewis is if you fuck it up.
Totally. So, I don't know. I mean, we can say all we want right now, but we're just waiting for these moves to come down over the next couple of weeks or so, and that'll, actually tell us something about the direction of the program, where they're headed, and what we should expect moving forward. Wow. Scotty Deep Pockets is here.
Feels weird over here in this spot.
You want to trade?
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Sure.
While they're doing that, let's take our first break, and we'll get to the press conference and everything else we got to get to in the final post-game show of the year. Shout out to our homies over at Game Time, the place to go to get tickets for NFL, NBA, NHL, concerts, events, whatever's going on in your city. Game Time is where you need to go. You can also trust Game Time. I mean, all their tickets are 100% authentic, and they're also at the best price. Use the Game Time Picks feature. You can see the view directly from your seat. You can also see the best deals as they go around through the stadium as well. And as you know, with Game Time, the deals get better as you get closer to Game Time as well. Download the app, use the promo code BUFFS, BUFFS, and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You'll get $20 off your first purchase with that promo code BUFFS. Again, BUFFS for $20 off at Game Time. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it?
Game time. Sure is game time, man. Shout out to Game Time and shout out to our good friends over at Dick's Sporting Goods, man. Y'all know that Dick's is the place for the hottest apparel, the hottest footwear from top brands like Nike, Adidas, FP Movement, and DNVR, man. Plus, you can score the latest equipment for football, baseball, soccer, basketball, golf, all your tailgating essentials as well. And if you found a lower price, well, that's cool because Dick's will match it with their best price guarantee. So get your gear fast with free curbside pickup at your nearest store or easy shipping from Dicks.com. Every season starts at Dick's. Shout out to Dick's Sporting Goods. What up, boys?
All right, Scotty, give us your major takeaway from this game, and if you want, kind of expand it onto the season.
Sure. My biggest takeaway from you asked for presser, right? That's what you asked about?
No.
From the game.
We'll get to presser.
Yes, we'll get to the presser.
Cool.
Talk about the game.
From the game, I mean, there was some fight with this team, and I think there was some uncertainty of whether that was going to be present today. For a team on the road at 3-8 in the cold, in the snow, not playing for much. That was a team that fought for most of that game. I think particularly defensively. We knew what Kansas State's game plan was going to be today, and I was going to run the damn football. And I would say for 2.5 quarters, maybe 3 quarters, Colorado held up really well. But as we've seen too many times this season, it falls apart late. It falls apart in the fourth quarter of games, particularly when defensively you know what they're doing. You know they're running the ball. They're trying to burn the clock and salt this game away, and you just couldn't get any stops. And that is kind of my biggest takeaway. Offensively, we've seen that game.
Yep.
We've just seen that game multiple times this year from an offensive standpoint, where it's like, oh, they can put together a drive, and then you go a quarter and a half without even getting a first down, it feels like, or stringing together a couple of those. So what we saw today was the Kaidon Salter-led offense that we've seen pretty much all year. And that's unfortunate. And I think the biggest thing that Coach Prime talked about, I won't get too much into it, but he's talking about after the game, personnel and mentality. And that was two things that were at a high level at last year when this team won 9 games. And this year it was a glaring deficiency in those two areas, in those two departments with this team. In terms of the personnel, in terms of the mentality of this team. And that has to get fixed. That has to get fixed this offseason with the guys that you bring in, with the guys that you might ask to go elsewhere, and certainly with the coaches that you bring in. And obviously Coach Prime talked a little bit about that. He was asked a few times about that in the postgame presser, just about these changes, how this coaching staff might look different. And he wasn't shying too much away from it. He's like, it's going to look different. I'm going to be different next year. I'm going to look different next year. And I think that's important as well. Coach Prime has to continue to reinvent himself.
Yeah. Because
I think he'd be the first person to tell you he wasn't a very good head coach from week 1 up until this year. In terms of, obviously, you look at the results, you look at the 3-9 record, you look at some of the in-game managerial, so to speak, mistakes that were made, again, in between the lines this year. And obviously, he has to look at himself first and foremost, and he has to fix that staff and decide who's staying, who's going, who am I bringing in to make sure that I'm not just, subtracting just for the sake of subtracting. Like, this coaching staff has to get younger. This coaching staff has to get more creative.
Innovative, yep.
Yeah, exactly. More creative, more innovative. And that has to be at the top of the checklist this offseason, in addition to identifying dogs, man. Because we saw some today. We saw some out there on the field wearing a Buffalo uniform.
100%.
You got to get more of those because I think there were more dogs than not dogs last year, and I think the opposite was true this year. And again, dog is an abstract word that gets thrown around, but you know when you see it. And I think Coach Prime knows it when he sees it, and I think he knew probably earlier than a lot of people did that there just weren't enough dogs on this team. And he has to obviously take, some accountability for that. We know his health situation this offseason that prevented him from being in and around Boulder as much as he probably would have liked to, as much as he probably should have been to, build on last season. But health is health. And especially when you're dealing with cancer or something as serious as that, you got to take control of that. But this offseason is pivotal because we just wrapped up the worst season of the Coach Prime era.
Yep.
And that isn't that's not anything anybody wanted to see. But we move now, and you got to fix all of that.
Yep. Really quick, I want to address this because it's so dumb and it keeps popping up in the comment section. Colorado is not firing Coach Prime this offseason. And I want to be very clear when I say no team in the country would fire their coach in this situation. Took over an absolute dumpster fire, improved it for 2 years, got an extension, a very large extension, and then fell off the next year. There's no team in the country who fires their coach right now.
No.
And so that's not happening. You lean in and you make this work, and there is pressure on Coach Prime, not only just from himself, but from other factors to make the necessary changes to get this thing right. So stop talking about that because it's stupid.
It's so dumb. You have a coach and a quarterback. As bad as things are, if you have a coach and a quarterback, anything is possible moving forward.
Sure
this
is.
Like the sky is falling stuff, fire everyone, like burn everyone, let everyone into the portal thing is ridiculous. There's so many other words. It's entitled. It's just makes no sense. Bad seasons happen. No one is happy because of this. But to act like everything needs to be just burnt down and start over again after one bad year is just a complete lack of perspective and a complete lack of just track record of what college football is. Bad years happen. Like, if every coach was fired after a bad year, hardly any of these programs would have these like rises back to greatness, which is where Colorado wants to get to, and which is where they just were a year ago. Like, some perspective has to be maintained. Like, nobody is happy with this year, but to act like the answer is to burn it all down is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
And to act like last year didn't happen after what happened the previous year and the year before that. Like, we talk about it all the time, more so with players in development, talking about it's not linear. The same oftentimes can be said for entire programs. Like, just because you go from 4-8 to 9-4 doesn't mean the next season is going to be 10-3, and the season after that's going to be 11-2, and then you're going to be on your way to it. No, it don't work like that, and particularly doesn't work like that when you made some mistakes along the way. When you deviated from the path that made you successful last year, you did some things in the opposite direction this year that certainly manifested itself into a 3-9 record. And that is, again, one of the things that Coach Prime alluded to today after the game, and something he's alluded to in the past when people talk about the transfer portal plan and the recruiting plan and stuff. Nobody was really complaining about this stuff last year. Why? Because it worked. Mm-hmm. And the players on the field were balling. And nobody really, I mean, there was still some noise about the play caller sometimes, but mostly from a coaching staff perspective, there weren't many complaints last year.
Well, your quarterback and play caller worked in tandem last year.
Yeah, and a lot of times your quarterback was your play caller too, which helped. So yeah, but yeah. This is like I said before you came on, Scotty. This is the beginning of a new journey. Gotta be,
and that's okay. Like, that college football is incredibly cyclical. It's not like the NFL where you find your guys and then you lock them down and then you build upon it.
Right.
Colorado Coach Prime got here and knew that year one was going to be a trudge. Uh-huh. But it was always a build to year two because they knew that was going to be Travis and Shador and Shiloh's last year.
Right.
And a bunch of other good players. Then this year, you lost all of that. So you begin the cycle of trying to reload again, and you found some guys. You found some guys that are a part of the future moving forward.
Definitely.
And you, most importantly, found a quarterback.
Most importantly.
You go from there, you build, and now you find another year where you say, okay, that's the year we're building towards.
Right.
And I don't know if that's going to be 2027 or 2028, but that's where we're at now.
Yep.
100%.
It is.
You want to take us inside or we need to?
Yeah, we can take another break here, and then we can dive back into press conferences and all that. Shout out to our friends over at Bet365, the homies. We were on the under and Colorado plus 17 in that football game. Thankfully, we hit that one. Hopefully, first of many hits that we're going to get today and this weekend. We've been on a little bit of a roll. And shout out to Bet365. You can start a new account and get $150 in bonus bets if you're a new customer. Just deposit $10, bet $5 on anything, something that'll clear quick. Win or lose, once that bet clears, you'll get $150 in bonus bets into your account. Again, when you use the promo code DNVR365 when you sign up. Bonus bets can be used on anything: spread, totals, player props, futures, SGPs, and more. Whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
Also, shout out to our friends over at Taco Bell. Very well could be on the menu tonight. Taco Bell, that new roasted poblano rolled quesadilla with steak. Woo! That thing hits. But also, time is running out on the Buffs box. It could be today, tomorrow. We don't know. Do we know the exact date?
Sometime soon.
The end of the season was the end of the Buffs box, which means it could be tonight's the last night, which means don't miss out on your last chance to get that with 4 Taco Bell classics and a player collectible cup. Live Moss with our friends over at Taco Bell. In moments of sadness and in moments of joy, Taco Bell, always there for you.
Shout out TB, man.
All right. Press conference.
Really quick. Someone in the chat said, like, you guys got to stop. Coach Prime said this team was better. I think that was one of the bigger missteps of the season, not necessarily from Coach Prime, but really just from all of us.
Yeah.
We expected linear growth, and there were certain things like the offensive line
that just got too narrowed in on that
took a big step forward. We expected to be able to run the ball. Didn't happen. We expected there to be a better marriage between Kaidon Salter and Pat Shurmur.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. And so expectations ended up being, what's the comparison is the thief of joy?
Yep.
Sometimes expectations are the thief of joy.
For sure.
In losing. But because of that, I think is why things got so out of whack and why there was such visceral reactions to all of the losses, is because, like, expectations grow with the growth of a team.
Yeah.
And no one's wrong for it. It's just one of the things that made this feel so much worse because, one, the record ended up being so bad, but 2, there was a hope of, like, okay, like, the overall roster is better. One thing that was absolutely positively incorrect is the defense. Like,
yes,
the defense was markedly worse at every position.
Yeah, I mean, we thought the defensive line was going to be the strength of this team.
Dead wrong.
Was not the case at all. We thought guys in the cornerback room would be able to make some leaps and help pick up for, the losing Travis and Colton. Not the case. Also, I mean, when you focus so much on like something as massive as improving a team over an offseason, right? This whole overarching, like, improving the team, like, sometimes you can zero in too much on, like, the weaknesses from last year and fixing those weaknesses.
Yes, bro.
And you kind of avoid, or you kind of just neglect some of the areas that it just falls through the cracks. And, is that on the head man? Of course it is. I mean, he's the one it's going to be the most accountable on, but it's on everyone in that building. Like, it's about maintaining a level of standard, and the level of standard was not maintained in certain rooms. And we just, personally, I think we focused too much on the offensive line, and I think they were better. But also, when the quarterback play isn't as good, when there's not good harmony between the play caller and the quarterback, and the running back situation's always up in the air with who you have back there.
Yeah.
You lost 2 of your best running backs. Simeon looked like one of the better running backs you had early on, and same with DeKalen. You lose those guys early on, that muddies everything up, and in turn, I mean, now the offensive line doesn't look as good, even though it is for sure better in terms of the talent and players you have. But I think that's what happened from a coaching perspective too, from Coach Prime. We're all to blame from that angle of, I guess, some things just got neglected in the team building process that, I don't know. Sometimes it just happens, unfortunately.
And that's kind of the direction I was going to go in, right? Because I feel like, especially when you have a relatively successful season like the one Colorado did last year, winning 9 games, being in the Big 12 title game contention up until late in the season, you start to, like, fix last year's problems for this team.
Exactly.
But this team has a different set of problems. Yes. What worked last year doesn't necessarily work this year. What didn't work last year doesn't mean it's not going to work again this year.
Right.
And I think you're exactly right. Like, people just assumed because you had receivers that the passing game was going to be it was just going to click.
Yep.
No, it's not just going to click. And, the offensive line was bad last year. And like you said, I think there's a good point to that. Like, there was almost too much emphasis put on, like, we got to get this running game going. We got to get this offensive line going. Yes, you do. But are you neglecting other parts of your team while trying to fix that part?
Right.
Are you just assuming that because the defense was good last year that the defense is going to be fine? We don't got to worry. We'll be fine there.
Yes.
No. You have to really go in, address each season as it's its own team, its own entity with its own set of problems and solutions. And I feel like I think it's a good point because, again, like I said, I think that's where I was going to go. Like, I think too much time was spent trying to just put Band-Aids on last year's problems,
Right.
as opposed to looking at this team. What are this team's problems? What are the solutions for this team, and going about it that way? Because I think that's truly what we saw. Like, I think they just assumed some things that worked last year were just going to carry over, and some things that didn't work last year were just not going to work again, when maybe they do, just because you have different personnel.
Or
It's a
even,
learning process.
or even from a program perspective, not even a year-to-year perspective, though. Like, you need to be better at running the ball in general, not just
Yes.
next year. Like, whatever happened last 2 years, 23 and 24, just could not be sustained moving forward, period. No matter who's the head coach is, the AD, what's going on.
Yeah.
What logos on the helmet. Like, that running game being that bad for those 2 consecutive seasons is just not sustainable. You need to fix that for the future. You need to fix the offensive line moving forward. The defense has to be good, or you need to try and make it good as long as you're there, not
For
just
sure.
for next year and adding to an edge room that you think is good. And, we'll take bits and pieces at linebacker in the cornerback room, and then we'll be just dandy. That's just not how it works.
No doubt.
Scotty, you want to take us inside the presser?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Prime is, typical for after a loss. He was asked about, like, if he was pleased with the fight of the team, which was obviously evident today, and obviously Coach Prime wasn't really trying to hear none of that. He's like, that's what you expected to do. You're expected to fight. You're expected to care and put it all on the line, no matter what week it is, if it's the season finale, if it's week 1 or whatnot. So that was kind of his first point, but he was asked, obviously, multiple times about changes. Coach Prime wouldn't go specific into that, obviously, but, he said that changes are going to be coming quickly. And it sounds like, between reading the lines, that includes coaching staff, that includes players on the roster. He did say a couple of interesting things to me that I just clipped here before the show, before I came down here. He was asked about Jordan Seene specifically, or let me set this question the right way. He was asked about how, when you do see mentality that he's searching for in some of the guys currently on the roster, how do you go about retaining those guys that have the mentality that you have, like a Jordan Seene? And Jordan Seene's name was mentioned in the question. And Coach Prime kind of took that as the quote I wrote here is, the number one reason people leave is money. Let's stop sugarcoating this foolishness. He says it's not, players don't leave because they're unhappy with a coaching staff or a program. Woo. They leave, number one reason, because of money. That's straight up what he said. That's the quote. The number one reason people leave is money. Let's stop sugarcoating the foolishness. So I took that. I don't know if he's talking specifically about Seton. Obviously, people in the chat are talking about Seton. People all over Twitter are talking about Seton. I don't know. But that, to me, signals that Coach Prime is probably expecting at least one, maybe a few guys who he was counting on to be hitting that portal this offseason. Again, that's me completely reading between the lines. Y'all can go, watch the presser for yourself. It's on Buffs TV on YouTube. So that was interesting to me.
The original question is, how do you retain the guys that you think have
the mentality that you want?
And so what he's answering is more money.
Yeah, and he was also asked about that as well. Does he feel like he has the money? Because I think it was earlier this week he was asked about, with the portal opening up soon, do you feel like you're going to be able to get everything done that you need to? And Coach Prime was like, well, you gotta have money to do that. So he was asked, Coach Prime was asked about that specifically today, and he was like, he basically said that he feels like he has what he needs to get what he needs to get done. So that's that. He doesn't seem too worried about money or where this program is at in terms of competing from an NIL perspective with some of these other programs and whatnot. His final words I thought were interesting of the post-game presser after the questions were done. He goes, if anybody's about to reconcile and get this back on course, it's me. He said something similar to that a few times before. I will do it if it's the last thing I do on earth. This was the Last Supper. What did he mean by that?
You're asking me?
I thought that was interesting to leave the presser on because we know this is obviously a religious man who stays in his Bible. We all know
he says things for a reason.
Thank you.
Yes.
He said that for a reason. Like, that has some meaning to it.
Yes.
And I don't know what he means by that. But that was the way he chose to end his final presser of the season. This was the Last Supper. I will get this thing going back on track if it's the last thing I do on earth. So I don't know. But other than that, in terms of takeaways, there wasn't much. You know, he was talked about finishing, the mentality. He goes, you know, somebody acts like, you know, seems like you had a good game plan for the first 3 quarters, stopping the run.
Yeah.
And then Coach Prime, you know, cuts off the question and was like, the game plan didn't change in the 4th quarter. And that's kind of just where it comes to, you know, personnel and having the right guys in there who can play a full 4 quarters, who don't give up late and that type of thing. So it was an interesting, but also at the same time, kind of typical Coach Prime presser after a loss.
Is Dan O right? We're going to rise after getting crucified?
I think that would be the closest interpretation.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly what's happening to Coach and multiple people in the program right now.
Yeah.
They've been getting crucified and blamed and all that stuff all year.
Someone goes,
go ahead.
The Last Supper, he might be leaving. Wow. The thing that he said literally.
No, that's it. That's it, actually. He's leaving.
He cracked the
He's
code.
gone.
Yeah,
the last thing he said right before his Last Supper is, I will get this fixed if it's the last thing I do on earth.
Yes.
No, he's gone now.
Somebody mentioned on the live chat of the YouTube post-game presser, wasn't Judas at the Last Supper?
Bro, why are you keep looking at me?
I think he was, yes, but you are asking the wrong people.
I'm sorry, bro. I think Judas was at the Last Supper.
It was already confirmed.
Yes.
When we had Pastor on that I need Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, maybe somebody suggested like maybe he felt like he was betrayed by somebody in the staff and like he identified Judas.
We were just way too deep now.
That's why I threw that out there. I don't know.
Save it for after the show. We'll talk about it.
But yeah,
anything else? Yeah.
A disappointed, a motivated to get this right type of Coach Prime, and he realizes, I think, that it's not going to be easy. Like, he's going to have to make some difficult decisions with some guys, some people that he probably really cares about, particularly on the coaching staff and maybe even on the roster, like having to say goodbye to some guys that he has poured a lot of time in. So,
I mean, I brought this up earlier. I don't even think I've said this on the show, but it's like sometimes when you're in a program rebuild, you need like that second purge to truly clean things out and get what you want in there.
It's true.
Sometimes it does just take God forbid multiple, but that second, kind of cleansing of the program, and this goes to anything related to a team, any type of rebuild or anything like that. You can always take out the trash the first time and say, all right, we're starting anew. Mm-hmm. But it isn't until you really rip down the studs or the foundation down to the studs, and you see how this thing was put together, and it's like, okay, maybe this land, we just got to go move it somewhere else. Like, so there's a lot going on, I think, in terms of that too. Because again, you found a lot of pieces that you can count on. But clearly, this was a regression. It was really similar in some ways to 2023. Yeah. I don't think you saw the team splinter in the way you saw that team splinter. And the clicks kind of breaking off and all that, but it just wasn't a whole united team at times.
And this is what I was going to say earlier. I kind of forgot to. Coach Prime, and I think, has proved that he has shown at Colorado that he knows how to rebound from a losing season, from a bad year. Mm-hmm. He did it from 2023 to 24. Now it's time to, I think, prove that you can build off a winning year like you did last year in 2024, right? Like, prove that you can sustain some success, have some continued success, and prove that, last year just wasn't just a flash in the pan. And that, again, that's going to take some difficult decisions, some difficult conversations. but it has to be done at multiple levels because 3-8, 1-8 in the 3-9, excuse me, 1-8 in the Big 12 is just straight up unacceptable. You have 3 wins on the year. 2 of them came against Delaware and Wyoming. Like there has to be like monumental change, in my opinion. Like the amount of people who stick around should be, I think, limited, particularly on the coaching staff, because they've had plenty of opportunities.
How many players are on the team? We'll just say 85.
Yeah,
Plus.
A little less in terms of scholarship players. We identified 8 that are must-have cornerstones. That's 10%, a little under 10%.
for sure.
You look at the coaching staff, you should say, who are the must-have coaching? Who are the most must-have cornerstones of the coaching staff? And that might be 10%.
Might be high. 10 might be high. 10%.
I mean, it's probably going to be a little higher than that because the coaching staff in total is what? If you count assistants and
20-some.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to keep more than 2.
But yeah, in terms of actual, like, where responsibility falls, it's like 10.
Right.
10 real coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also was asked about Marshall Falk, and Coach Prime basically was like, I'm going to let him do that, kind of announced that on his own.
Oh, yeah.
Because clearly it hasn't been officially broken. Like Southern hasn't
School
said
hasn't
anything.
announced, yeah.
Right. So, yeah, indications is that, Marshall Falk is out of here, but obviously Coach Prime's going to let him have that moment.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's just one spot. I mean, I would expect this entire offensive staff to look to be new next year.
Yep.
Right? I mean, I would expect everybody new.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I wouldn't actually. I think there will be at least 2 coaches on the offensive staff who stay.
Oh, that wouldn't. Sure. You're probably right. You're probably right.
Going back to this game, I mean, I guess just kind of building off. I mean, we mentioned cornerstones, but guys who really played hard for this team.
Yes.
That are pieces for the future that you really saw. Because, again, we talked about it all week. We talked about it in the pregame this morning how this is just kind of a throw caution to the wind and just go play football. Like you're 6 years old again, basically. Like, forget about the records, forget about the stats. So special shout out to Micah Welsh, Tawfiq Byard, London Merritt, Omarion Miller, Dallin Hayden, Caleb Mathis, Zach Atkins. Those guys, they went out and put it on the line today when there was nothing to put it on for.
And those were the guys that we wrote down of like, hey, remember these guys because they put it out there. But I do think it's important to add, just for the sake of the show, Kaidon Salter and Sean Myers to the list of guys who left it all on the field today.
Yep.
And that's not to say there weren't more.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you watch the TV copy, you just get to see the guys who made plays. But like, there's probably more players who were giving 100% effort today that we just didn't see.
For sure.
Of course.
But I want to like etch those names in stone and just remember them for the future of like, hey, you need something, you want, guys to come, you want visitors, who are they going to stay with when they come here? Like, look at this list. And honestly, like, this doesn't happen a lot in college football, but like, I wouldn't mind allowing someone like Tawfiq Byard to tell the coach, like, if a guy seems like a dog when they come here and visit.
Sure.
You get some defensive backs to come in here and visit. Get Tawfiq's opinion. Like, does he care as much as you do?
Bro, that's what they were doing. That's what I know Shador was doing last offseason.
Shiloh was absolutely doing that too.
Exactly.
But you have to identify who those guys are that are like that on your team.
Input you can
Tawfiq
trust.
Byard wasn't here last offseason
for
to
sure.
do that.
You're 100% right, dude. I want to just give us some love to a couple of dudes. Zach Atkins is one, man.
Yeah.
Criminally underutilized this season for his talent. And this is somebody who we tracked quite a bit early in the offseason because he was like a fast riser. Coming from the D2 ranks, had a bunch of offers from the Power 4 ranks, chose Colorado, and after dealing with some stuff in the spring and in the fall, when he was given opportunities this year, he has been as advertised. Today in particular. I just want that young man to return. He obviously has another year of eligibility. Probably another guy you might have to re-recruit to make sure he stays in your program.
Who's
but
that?
Zach.
Yeah.
But that's somebody who I think with a proper game plan surrounding him, with the right personnel and the right person calling plays, I truly believe Zach Atkins is like an NFL type player who can be one of those cornerstone pieces of a program. You might have talked about Omarion Miller. 4 straight games with either 100 yards or a touchdown. 800 plus yards on the season. With missing 1 game, with inconsistent quarterback play, with inconsistent, let's just call it creativity on offense. That's an NFL player right there. Like, there are NFL players on this roster. You feel what I'm saying? And not a lot of there are plenty of college football programs out there who can say that. But that talent needs to be realized. They need to be helped out by the coaching staff, and there needs to be more of that as well. But those 2 guys in particular, guys who have an extra year of eligibility left at least, who with the offseason, with the right pieces put around them, I think it could really take off even more than they already have.
One thing that I really want to see is us nail the cornerback position.
You said corner?
Corner.
Yeah.
That one should just be non-negotiable in the Coach Prime era, in my opinion. It should never be a question. We should always have elite talent at the corner position, and we should be nailing it in the transfer portal, and we should be nailing it out of high school.
Definitely.
And there should just be a constant stream of high-level cornerback talent on this team. And that was one of the more surprising things. Like, it showed its face against Georgia Tech. It was like,
immediately.
Oh, we don't have guys who are like that anymore. Like, the combination of Travis, DJ, and Colton last year was special. And Preston.
Defined your defense.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Even the year before, you had pieces. Of course, Travis. Build around Travis. It'll make anything look a lot easier. But that's one where I'm like, all right, that's a position where Coach Prime should just be able to throw Deion Sanders around and land players.
I think that's all valid, but I would put cornerback near the bottom of the list in terms of things that have to be fixed, because we've talked about it a lot this year. Seems like we're playing the same game every week, and that game typically is a running quarterback and a running game from the opposite side. Like, certainly cornerback needs to be better. Yes. But I would certainly put defensive line and linebacker ahead of that.
But cornerback should just be a set it and forget it strength of this era.
I agree with that.
Guess what? When you can just go man on the outside all day long, it'll really help your run defense.
You're not wrong at all.
100%. Sorry, looking something up. Let's take our next break. And then I got something I want to say about that. Shout out to our homies over at Toyota, man. Shout out to everyone who came out and saw our wonderful state, saw us, saw a Buffs game from out of town this year. Hopefully you did it in a Toyota and you got to see everything that Colorado offers, all its beauty. Toyota's got 17 models with available all-wheel drive so that you can get along out here in the mountains and then make it back down in the city. If you want to just hang out in the city, though, they got 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, including the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck as well. But visit a Front Range Toyota store at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of CU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
And shout out to the squad over at Ent Credit Union, man. You already know what it is with Ent Credit Union and their Broncos checking product and all those awesome perks that come with it, like the game day discounts at Empower Field, the chance to win Broncos tickets, and all the exclusive merch. And they're piling on even more perks, y'all. For those who are interested in signing up, they're giving you $200. Yep, $200 will be dropped right into your account after meeting just a few easy requirements. And the coolest part to me, man, is all the fire debit card options that come with it, man. You can get a Broncos branded one. You can get a Bo Nix one, a PS2 throwback card, and they're all available at all service centers on December 1st. They're low-key. Those cards are kind of like collectibles if you really think about it.
I had it near me, but
so with the playoff push heating up, man, it's the time to lock it down. The perks, the card, the $200, all of it. If you're ready to bank like a Bronco, head over to ent.com/DNVR to learn more. Insured by NCUA, membership required, account requires associated Ent Broncos debit card. Also requires a $100 deposit, activation of debit card within 30 days of account opening. Shout out to Ent Credit Union.
Okay, so I just looked this up. I don't know if this is updated or not. Colorado, in terms of rushing defense, third worst rushing defense in the country.
Yeah, I mean, that was obvious.
Allowed 224 yards per game. So to your point, I mean, yes, I do think the cornerback play should be better. You got to build the team to the conference, though. And this conference is all about stopping the run. I mean, and getting your run game going. That's how the team has to be built. And now with Julian, yes, you're going to be able to air it out and kind of play a lot of the style that you played with Shedeur and how you were successful there. But you got to fix the run game on both sides of the ball. I think that injuries really hurt the defensive back room a lot this year. You were also just kind of really inexperienced. I mean, you brought in Tayon Parks, who's taking a jump up in competition, right? And just the injuries was crazy. The fact that it's all hand injuries makes no sense.
RJ didn't play much at all this year.
I mean, yeah.
Injuries.
And I thought he played well when he was in there too. So
he did.
DJ, I mean, I don't know if it was injuries or whatever it was, but you got to start with fixing the run defense because it's been the last 3 years. It's just not been good enough. I mean, it was better last year, but
yeah. And again, I'm not saying that corner should be a priority. I'm saying that it should be a given.
You would think.
Yeah.
Like, if Peyton Manning was the head coach of Tennessee, you would just expect them to always have great quarterbacks because players would want to go play for them. And I'm not saying that players don't want to go play for Coach Prime. I'm just saying for the first 2 years, it was really easy to get cornerback talent. For whatever reason, this year, it wasn't as easy, and you lost cornerback talent.
For sure.
And so that's a place that I just feel like you got to get that on just like a set it and forget it schedule where it's like we're bringing in great transfers, we're bringing in great recruits, we have a steady. It's just a part of the team we shouldn't have to worry about as this, 3 years from now or whatever. I also hope that new eyes results in a different evaluation of the way guys are performing at practice. There has now been a consistent theme across 3 years of players who weren't playing early in the season coming into play and balling out and becoming key cogs of the team for, 75% of the season. But the story has been that they didn't show out in practice or whatever.
Yeah.
And I understand the concept of a coach saying, like, I can't trust what I don't see in practice.
Correct.
But I'm hoping that new coaching can, one, bring it out of those guys in practice, and two, evaluate better at what's going on in practice. Like Cam Summan-Craig didn't start year one against TCU.
Bro,
Mekhi Hill-Green didn't start year two.
When y'all told me Cam didn't start the season starting, that blew my mind.
Yes. Mekhi Hill-Green didn't start year two. Tawfiq Byer didn't start year three. And those are just the three most glaring examples, but there's other examples of guys who got opportunities and balled out and were like, wait,
where's he been?
Where has he been? So that's something that I hope changes.
And vice versa has been true too many times, I think, as well. Where you're like, why is that guy in the game right now? And then a coach's description of that, or what's the word I'm looking for? Explanation for that is, well, we see it in practice.
yeah.
Well, coach, ain't nobody trying to see that in the game. And we've seen, like I said, one too many examples of that. So I think that's a good point. But that, to me, comes back to coaching. And I want to go back to when you're talking about this program was getting cornerback talent the first couple of years, and that should be like a given under the Coach Prime thing. That's another thing to me that points to something has to change. Because if you were getting elite cornerback talent and now you're not, and the assumption is that maybe cornerbacks aren't as drawn to playing for this program, something changed. And something has to change. And I don't know if that's, again, it's not Coach Prime, certainly, in terms of the change. Something might have to change where you might need a different face/voice in there to get the cornerback talent that you want, that you think you deserve, based on your head coach, based on the fact that you got the reigning winner of the best defensive back in college football. Or no, you don't. That was Barron, but Travis was certainly in it. That's
He should have won it.
He should have won it, right?
mean,
He should have won it. But
He won the Heisman Trophy.
It went to y'all boy instead. But yeah, that again is another thing that to me points to, if you feel like you should be getting elite cornerback talent, which I think we all agree they should, and you're not.
Yeah.
Flip got to be switched. The button got to be pressed to open back up that loophole. So
I think a lot of buttons are about to be pressed.
Totally.
got to.
Let's do our final touchdown tracker of the year, and then we can get to super chats and get out of here. We are at 33.
Yep.
33 touchdowns. Just not able to get to Diablo.
Damn.
You weren't good enough this year. Reserved for teams that have 34 touchdowns or better.
We don't want no devils in the house.
Fair enough. But shout out to Taco Bell, man. They've been incredible partners with us and have really supported the program this football season and moving forward too. So shout out to them.
It's given us a good opportunity to just reminisce on some of these touchdowns throughout the year as well, right? At least one really cool one today from Micah, going over the top. That was, you always love to see that. Did he go over the top twice? I think the second touchdown, not really.
He went over. He tried to go over the top the play before on the second one.
Right.
And then
He
he
got
just
stopped.
said, I'm just going straight through this.
Yeah. But shout out to Micah, man. 2 touchdowns. Dallin Hayden, today, 66 rushing yards. His most in the game as a Colorado Buffalo. 66. And that says more, again, about, I think, the staff and the person who's calling plays than Dallin Hayden, because especially the last 2 weeks, man, and you can date it back further than that, Dallin been running with a damn purpose.
Yes.
And it seems like they just, when they see that, they're like, let's give somebody else a try.
It makes no sense. Also, you're going into your fourth year now, where you haven't had a 100-yard rusher. Last 100
That
yard
has to be like a college football record.
I mean,
doesn't it?
It's getting close.
3 years without 3 seasons without a 100-yard rusher.
It's crazy.
That has to be like an NCAA record.
It
I
makes
mean, you
no
got to
sense.
imagine like Texas Tech might have done it in the.
That's what I'm saying. Like Mike Leach, Wazoo,
Yeah,
or someone
maybe.
had to have. I don't
It's
know.
crazy.
Hawaii back in the day, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, I almost would have kept feeding Dallin today just to make it happen.
Just to have something.
Just get the monkey off the back, yeah.
I mean, there's multiple times in multiple games where it's like, you know what? I'll just give him the ball the rest of the way so we can get to that. And they don't
there
do
was
it.
at least 2 or 3 games where either Micah or Dallin were like at 60 plus in like the third quarter, like with like a lot of time still left in the third quarter,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason.
And the running back rotation this year as a whole was completely befuddling.
Makes zero sense.
Again, another thing that should change with new coaching at that position next year.
Yeah.
But like, there was just no reason to not give it to Dallin. Micah played well today.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
But like, Draylon didn't have it early.
I don't think he needed to carry the ball 7 times in that game today.
No.
For 2 yards.
Now give 4 more carries to Dallin and 3 more to Micah.
And you might have had it too.
Yeah.
Either of them. Both of them.
For sure. They were both over 4 yards a carry today.
Favorite touchdown of the season?
Number 1.
The first one.
Kaidon Salter to Kalen Taylor in the end zone.
That was one of the sickest ones.
If you could bottle up the emotion of the Colorado football fan base on that touchdown.
That's
You
what
just
I
got
mean.
the turnover for Georgia Tech. You go down and score.
The belief was
The belief was high.
high.
The belief was high.
Anything else before we get to super chats?
Marshall Faulk was not hired because of his running back rotations. I don't know why that's hard to understand. Yeah, one last thing I want to say. I really do still believe in what's going on here. Like, I believe Coach Pratt when he says, I am the person to get this right and I'll do everything I can. And if it's the last thing I do, I will get it right. I believe him when he says it. I think that people don't understand that he's also learning.
He said literally that today in the postgame presser. He was like, what have you learned? I'm still learning.
Yes.
That's what he said out of his mouth today, Coach.
If you're doing anything and you're not learning, you're not trying to learn. And I fully believe in Julian Lewis as the quarterback of the future. And there have been so many times in my life, almost every damn time, in my life we've gone into an offseason without having the quarterback. It's like Shador going into year 2.
Right.
Even the year that Sefo Lufau led them to a 10-win season in 2016, they were trying to bring in Davis Webb to replace him. So having that piece in place, an elite quarterback, is so big for this program moving forward.
It really is.
All right, Super Chats.
Chatsky.
Northside Roger says the team is only as good as the coaching staff. Thank you.
There was another Coach Brown was asked today. He was like, how do you kind of get this team out of the rut that they're in? It was like, ain't no rut. We're not good.
This is them.
We're not good.
Yeah, this is who they are. Shout out to Cooper with the Super Chat. Thank you, DNVR, for another year of fun coverage. I'm confident Prime and the Buffs will bounce back if we have a good offseason. Appreciate you, Cooper.
Oh, yeah, Cooper.
Big if.
Thank you for spending $5, BZ, man. We appreciate that. Damn. That's the 2025 season.
Wow.
It came and it went.
Yep.
What a time.
So, yeah, we're a Monday through Friday show now. We'll be back on Monday. We're going to be moving the time of the show here pretty soon as well. So if you're a live viewer, stay tuned for that, and we'll let you know as soon as we nail down a time. But, yeah. Hit the thumbs up button on the way out.
Appreciate you guys.
See y'all Monday.
Was not easy. Was not fun a lot of the time. But so many of you stuck with us day in, day out.
Yeah.
Rode alongside it. That's what this is all about in the end. It's building community. I think we have a really cool community here on the large part of things. And you guys make it possible for us to live our dreams. So thank you guys. And thank you guys for doing it alongside me every day. We have a blast. Thank you, Alyssa, for producing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you, bro.
Wouldn't want to spend my Saturdays with nobody else.
Thank you for being someone to rally us all and being a
Facts.
flag bearer that we can all confidently run behind.
100%.
Hell yeah.
Honestly. Appreciate you, man.
So many real ones in the chat watching us today, watching us every day. We really do appreciate y'all, man. From the bottom of our hearts, for real.
For real. And we ain't going anywhere. We'll be back on Monday. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see y'all then.
We'll still be talking about football. We got a fun basketball team.
Yes.
Sure do.
To start talking about
7-0 undefeated basketball
Shador
team.
Sanders plays football tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
We'll always have something to talk about.
Last minute super chat from Chris says, love you guys. Sko Buffs, fire emoji, Rockets, buff emoji.
Squad.
We
We love you
appreciate
too.
y'all, man. We'll see you Monday. Sko Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.